All right, today we're tackling a big one. It's one of the most powerful and, yeah, most controversial novels in all of American literature. Theodore Dreiser's 1925 masterpiece, An American Tragedy. So let's dive into this unforgettable story of ambition, murder, and the dark underbelly of the American dream.
So let me start by asking you this. What if the American dream wasn't a promise, but a trap? That's the haunting question at the very core of this novel. See, this isn't your typical success story. Nope, this is a brutal look at what happens when that promise of wealth and happiness becomes a destructive obsession, especially for those on the outside looking in.
But here's the thing. Before we can even get to the novel, we have to start with the real-life event that sparked the whole thing. A true crime story that absolutely captivated and horrified the entire nation.
So, picture this. It's July 11th, 1906. The body of a young factory worker, Grace Brown, is pulled from Big Moose Lake in New York. The police pretty quickly zero in on her lover, Chester Gillette. Now, Chester was an ambitious guy from a good family, but his bright future was suddenly facing a huge obstacle. Grace was pregnant. The trial that followed was a total media circus, and in the end, Chester Gillette was found guilty and sent to the electric chair.
But you know what really made this case explode? It wasn't just the crime itself. It was Grace Brown's own words. Her heartbreaking, desperate love letters were read aloud in the courtroom for everyone to hear. Her pleas for Chester to do the right thing and marry her. It was that raw emotion that turned a local tragedy into a story the whole world was following.
And this is where our author Theodore Dreiser comes into the picture. He was reading these same headlines, but he saw something more than just a sordid murder. He saw a story about the very soul of America.
Now, you have to understand, Dreiser was a journalist at his core. He got obsessed with this case, for years. He collected every single newspaper clipping he could find, studying every little detail. He knew this wasn't just about one guy making a horrible choice, it was about the why. What kind of societal pressure could push a person to do something so desperate? So when he finally wrote the novel, he used the real-life case as a direct blueprint. It's wild how closely he stuck to it. Chester Gillette becomes Clyde Griffiths. He even kept the same initials. Grace Brown becomes Roberta Alden. Big Moose Lake is renamed Big Bittern Lake. He took the cold, hard facts and built this fictional world around them that felt chillingly, terrifyingly real. Okay, so let's jump into the novel itself and meet the characters at the center of this storm. It's a classic, tragic love triangle, but it's all fueled by this uniquely American anxiety about class and status.
First up, you've got our main guy, Clyde Griffiths. He's charming, he's handsome, but he's also morally weak, and he's just desperate to climb out of his poor background. Then there's Roberta Alden. She's a sweet, hard-working girl from the factory who genuinely falls in love with Clyde. And finally, there's Sandra Finchley. In Clyde's eyes, she's the ultimate prize. She's rich, she's popular, and she represents his golden ticket to the life he's always dreamed of.
The plot honestly unfolds like a slow-motion car crash that you just can't look away from. Clyde gets a job at his rich uncle's factory. He's lonely, so he starts a secret affair with Roberta. But just as that's happening, he finally gets his introduction to the wealthy elite and meets Sandra. He becomes completely obsessed. And then you get to the turning point. Roberta tells them she's pregnant. Suddenly, his two separate worlds are on a collision course, and his dream of marrying Sandra is about to be shattered.
This brings us to the climax of the book, and it's an absolute masterclass in moral ambiguity. Clyde takes Roberta out on a boat, planning to kill her, but at the last second, he loses his nerve. He hesitates. In the tense confusion, he accidentally hits her with his camera, the boat flips over, and he makes a choice. He swims away and lets her drown. So what was it? Was it murder? A terrible accident? Or just pure cowardice? That's the brilliant question Dreiser forces us all to wrestle with.
But you see, the death on the lake is really just the beginning. Dreiser's true target here is so much bigger. He's putting the entire idea of the American dream on trial.
And to really get what Dreiser's doing, you got to know about this literary movement called naturalism. It sounds complicated, but the core idea is pretty simple. It says that people aren't entirely in control of their lives. We're all products of our environment, our genetics, and these huge social and economic forces around us. So in Dreiser's world, Clyde isn't just an evil man. He's a pawn in a much bigger, much crueler game. And man, Dreiser puts all of American society in the hot seat. The American dream? He says it's a cruel illusion that just destroys people like Clyde. Social class, a rigid trap where the rich are always protected and the poor are disposable. The justice system, it's shown as being all about political ambition, not about finding the actual truth. And the moral hypocrisy is just stunning. At one point, a doctor refuses to help Roberto on moral grounds, then admits he'd help a rich girl in the exact same situation.
So with a critique this harsh, it's probably no surprise that the novel had a bit of a rocky start, but its power was just undeniable, and its legacy is absolutely immense.
I mean, just look at this journey. In 1927, it gets banned in Boston for being too obscene. In 1933, the Nazis are literally burning it. But then you fast forward to 2005, and Time magazine is calling it one of the 100 greatest novels ever written. It went from being condemned and destroyed to being celebrated as an absolutely essential piece of American literature.
And its influence is just everywhere. There was a hit Broadway play right after it came out. Of course, there's the iconic 1951 movie A Place in the Sun, starring Elizabeth Taylor and Montgomery Clift, a huge classic. It's been adapted into a grand opera, multiple TV shows. You can even see its DNA in modern films like Woody Allen's Match Point. The story's central conflict just continues to fascinate us. So we end up right back where we started with that really difficult question. After everything, who is Clyde Griffiths? Is he just a cold-blooded monster who planned a murder to get what he wanted? Or is he a tragic, weak victim, created and then destroyed by a society that dangled a dream just out of his reach? Dreiser never gives us an easy answer, and the fact that we're still debating it, almost a century later, tells you everything.